it would seem that it's not all plain sailing in Port Stephens. Aircraft noise has been a big issue there ever since the Williamtown RAF base opened up during the Second World War. But it seems that more residents are going to be impacted very soon, because when the latest noise maps come into effect in the next decade, new areas will be severely impacted by aircraft expanding, largely because the RAF base is expanding. The Oyster Cove Action Group and the community there could be particularly impacted. So that's why they've started this new group, residents and landowners. They've formed the Save Oyster Cove group to try and do something about it, to protect their properties. Good morning to Brian Coleman now, who's from the Save Oyster Cove group. Morning, Brian.
Good morning, Jill.
How long have you been living in Port Stephens?
I actually live at Karua, so I've been here. I've had my land in at Oyster Cove though for 20 years, but I've been at Karua for 10 years.
When you bought land in Oyster Cove, didn't you have a hunch that the RAF base would be only going to get bigger, not smaller?
It's not about the RAF base, Jill, and it's not about noise, and it's actually not about noise that's going to happen in the future. It's about what's happening right now, is that because the JSF, that's the new Joint Strike Fighter aircraft, is being brought in 2018, Defence has issued a map, and they've given that map to Council, and they've drawn contours on that map. Now, we are not opposed to noise. We are not a noise group. We don't have one member that's complaining about noise. But they've just drawn lines right through residential areas, right through Oyster Cove. They've drawn the lines right through East, West Medowie, Saltash. Now, these lines mean, in our zone, it is now unacceptable to build. This is an established residential area, been established for over 25 years.
Doesn't the RAF base have the authority to do just that, Brian?
Well, you tell me. The idea of when they draw up what they call an ANEF map, it's supposed to be for future land use planning, and that's what the town planner David Broyd. Well, he's the current town planner. That's what town planners are supposed to do. They're supposed to plan where they put land for the future use, because, we do have an airport. We're more influenced by the Saltash Air Weapons Range because they want a machine gun with their jets on that range. But like I say, we have been there. I have had my land for 20 years. We were nowhere in any noise curves whatsoever. They've delivered these curves. Now, there's not noise down at Oyster Cove. We've never been affected by it. They've delivered these curves, and now they've said, well, my land is worthless. I can't sell the land. There is absolutely no compensation. Defence are walking away, and Council's walking away from it. And the residents, their homes are so badly devalued that if these people have got to sell up and go into retirement villages, in 5 to 10 years, whatever, they just simply won't have the equity in their homes. And that's exactly the same for areas of North Raymond Terrace, and that's exactly the same for East and West Medowie. And I'll say to all your listeners, if people think they're not in the zone, think again, because Council has deliberately withheld this information for 6 months. Council is now writing to 3,500 affected residents whose homes and properties are devalued, some rendered worthless. This is one of the major scandals that's going to hit Port Stephens.
Gee, it's a very bleak picture you paint there, Brian. Was there any consultation at all?
There was zero consultation. As I said, the Council never wrote to the residents. What Defence did is they put out one of these submissions, public submissions. But the point is, we were never written to. We didn't know that these zones were going to be widened for the introduction of these jets. Now, I must stress, this is now. You cannot build in these zones now. If you build a house in any of the wider zones, which are the 20 to 25 zones, you must put in expensive insulation. Now, these costs have been underestimated. These costs can now be the same cost as your home. So if your home, if you're building a $100,000 home, it may cost you $200,000 now to put in this very, very expensive insulation. Just to clarify, Defence did put out public submissions, but there was a couple of meetings held. But if you didn't know you were affected, why would you go to one of these public submissions?
Yeah, they're often cart before the horse, those things, aren't they, Brian?
Well, exactly.
Look, it's great to to have a chat with you this morning. I feel that we have literally just opened the can on this with you, that there's a lot more to explore. We do have to go to the news now. We will put in calls to the RAF. We haven't heard back. We've tried them. We will pursue them, and we will talk to you again, Brian. You've drawn our attention to a considerable number of residents' homes.
Well, it's 3,500, Jill, and they're going to be written to by council. That's imminent. And they're going to get a very, very big shock at the implications of this. And also, these homes now that have to have the acoustic insulation, they're going to be all spewing out greenhouse gases. They're going to have increased energy costs because they've got to keep all their windows and doors locked and sealed according to the standard. And this is just a greenhouse nightmare.
Brian Coleman.